Well, guys, let's face it, men make a lot of mistakes. And I know that we don't want to admit that we make mistakes, but we make a lot of mistakes. Unfortunately, at least most of us do. And if you look back at all the mistakes that you've made, most of those mistakes were about women or something to do with women. It's our weakness. It really is, because, you know, men, heterosexual men, love women. And we make a lot of mistakes because of that. We want relationships. We want a partner. And as you get older, you may go through a divorce, something like that, and you may find yourself single, you know, when you're in your late 30s, early 40s, even in your 50s. And you start thinking about what else is out there. You start thinking about, I'm getting lonely, and, you know, I need some company. I need someone to talk to. I need someone to be intimate with. And you get that in your mind, and you will start thinking about that constantly. And every day, it seems like you get more and more lonely, and it becomes more and more of a priority, you know, to find a partner, to find, you know, another woman, another wife, another girlfriend. So you push yourself to do that, and you become obsessed with actually doing that. And then, if you don't watch, you open yourself up. It's a huge vulnerability, and you will make a huge mistake because you're kind of desperate, because you're lonely, because you may want to, you know, sex, whatever, and you will latch on to whatever's available. And what is available might not be, you know, what's the best for you. You may latch on to a leech. You may latch on to a woman and not vet her properly. And I know a lot of women are going to comment because they think that all women are perfect. No, they're not. Just like all men aren't perfect. We all have problems and all have issues. If you're a man and you start getting desperate because you're getting older and you think that and women do the same thing because they want to have kids and things like that too, but this is, you know, looking at it from a man's perspective. You know that you're getting older, you know, you're in your 50s, late 30s, 50s, 40s, and you know your time is to find a partner is limited. And you might be asking yourself, you know, how does MD Creekmore, this guy here on the internet, this guy here on YouTube, how does he know this from experience? Because I've done it. I've latched on before because, you know, loneliness, because you're not happy with yourself at the time, and you will latch on to pretty much anything. You know that when you're in your 40s, early 50s, that your time is definitely pretty much over for finding a romantic partner, it seems. And you start looking because you're looking out of desperation, and you will latch on to anything that shows up because you know you're getting old. You know your time period for actually being able to perform sexually is coming to an end. You know, you'll go from this to this over time as you get older. Usually they make pills for that and things like that, but it's in a man's head constantly, and a man is always trying to push himself out there, especially if he's single, to find, you know, a partner. And by doing that, you open yourself up to latch on to people who are, you know, drug addicts, drug users, people who are former drug users who are ready to backslide any minute. Women that have been around a lot of men, just whatever you can find, you'll latch on to because you are desperate. You think, this is probably my last chance, and I have limited opportunities, so I'm going to latch on to this, and you latch on to that, and it's worse than being single. You've been better off to have been by yourself than you would have been to have latched on to some of these women that are out there, because some of these women that are out there are monsters, unfortunately. They are monsters. They're out to get what they can from a man financially. As they say, men are in love and women are business. And that, in a lot of cases, is accurate. Unfortunately, it is accurate, because you see, when listen to women talk, girls and women, and they're always talking about what a man's got to do, what a man's got to have, how much he's got to make to date them, that's because they're in business. They're looking at it from a financial standpoint. And men, they're looking at it through love or maybe lust. You know, they say men think with their penis a lot, and that's true. Men do think with their penis a lot. That's another reason we latch on to women that may look good but aren't good for us. That are, like I said, monsters, that are parasites, that are vultures that are just trying to latch on to take what you have. They will cheat, they will do all kinds of things, they will steal, they'll make your life a holy living hell if you latch onto the wrong woman. So being desperate and finding a partner you think is a partner at the time out of desperation is definitely not the thing to do. You don't want to do that. You want to vet. And this goes for men and women too. I'm not saying that. Like I said, this is from a man's perspective though. You want to vet who you date. You might not know right off who this person is, but unfortunately, you know, a lot of men, like I said, out of desperation, they will find someone and within a week, they let that woman move in with them. Or within a month, they get married to this woman, not even knowing what she is, who she is. Not seeing her real personality, because people, you know, when they first meet you, especially when they have an interest in, you know, relationships or working their way in order to have a place to stay, to take your money, take your home or whatever, to get support, they will show their best side. They will pretend, you know, to be someone that they're not until you marry that person. And then when you marry that person, they show their true colors. My brother was telling me about a guy that he knew, that he dated a woman. She was one of the Oriental women. I can't remember exactly if she was a Filipino. She might have been a Filipino, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but he dated her, and she was the sweetest woman in the world. She would cook, she would rub his feet, she would rub his head, she would take care of that man. He worked, supported her, and he would come home, you know, she'd have dinner cooked and things, and everything would be just great. And then she talked him into getting married. She kept pushing him into getting married. She didn't want to live, you know, in sin. She didn't want to live, you know, together. She wanted to have that marriage. She wanted to be married by the state. Well, he didn't want to lose her. So, because she was just perfect. She was just perfect. And he didn't want to lose her, so he ended up marrying that woman. And the day, he told my brother, the day that they got married, she completely changed to a different person and turned into a monster. She was the meanest, throwing things, screaming, threatening to kill that man. I mean, with the same day that they got married, because she was putting on a front until they got married. Then she showed who she really was. She showed that she was a monster. And he was afraid to go to sleep because he was afraid that she was going to kill him in his sleep and take, you know, she was married. And he knew that she might do him in and be able to take, you know, get his home and property and everything that he'd left because she was the wife. He was afraid to actually go to sleep in his own house because of her. That's how bad that it got. The same day. So don't think that who you think you know is who you actually know, because it might turn out to be completely different than what you think you know. This sweet lady that you met, that are just perfect, that says just the right things, that does the right things, might actually be a monster. It's scary. It really is, guys. It really is scary. I know we talk a lot, you know, the news media, things like that, talk about women getting abused by these evil men and things. There's a lot of abuse the other way. A lot of abuse the other way. A lot of mistreatment, and the court systems are always usually for, you know, the woman in the divorce. They get the kids, half your stuff. I mean, you can get married or even live together, and she get pissed about something, not get her way about something, and decide to, you know, call the police and say that you're abusive, that you assaulted her, domestic dispute. They will come into your house and take you to jail from your own house and leave her there in your house. And you're going to have a more difficult time getting back in, because when you're gone, she may lock the doors. She may get a restraining order and keep you from your own house that you bought and paid for. You have to be extremely careful when you're a man, because the court system, like I said, usually always takes the woman's side. And sometimes they're right. I'm not saying that. Sometimes the woman is getting abused. It does happen. I'm not saying that at all. But men do get abused a lot, and the men get abused in the court system a lot. It really does suck, and it's scary getting in relationships. And you know, you may be worried about getting until you can't perform anymore, and you start getting older. You start getting more desperate to find, you know, someone to marry, someone to be with, someone to spend time with. And you'll latch on to, like I said, a monster if you're not very, very careful. Because unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of monsters out there. There's a lot of monsters out there that claims to be little sweethearts, but they're actually monsters on the inside. You get involved, and when you get married, you'll see the true person, man, when you get married to them. Because they know then they're married, you're moved in, and they have a kid or so. It makes it even worse, because they will show who they actually are then. And you know, it goes both ways. The men will try to do the same thing. They will put on a front and be on their best behavior and things with the woman they're trying to court, that they're trying to spark with. You can tell them I'm getting old. So they will put on a front too. I'm not saying that. And you have to be careful both ways. You really do, because you may get involved in a monster. I know a girl right now that I used to date years ago that she got married, and the guy she got married to is a controlling control freak. And she's a sweetheart, but he's a control freak, a jealous control freak. So she got her a monster. It happens both ways. It really does happen both ways. You have to be extremely careful. And society will tell you constantly, you have to get married, you have to have a partner, you have to have a girlfriend, you have to have this, you have to have that. And people think that everyone's looking at them and they're thinking, this guy here's something wrong with him because he's not married. He got divorced, you know, 12 years ago and is not married since. What happened? Something wrong with this guy? That's what the men are thinking, people's thinking about them. So they get even more desperate. And like I said, you start getting older, and you know, men, they start worrying about being able to perform sexually. That's one of the big things. You probably don't want to hear that, but it's one of the big things with men. We like to have a little sex. And when you start getting older, you're realizing that, hey, I'm getting older. And you know that in time, like I said, there's pills and things people can take now if you need them, but in time, men know and they worry about going from this down to this, unfortunately. So you latch on to whatever you can find a lot of times, because the man is thinking, I better use it while I still can. So they will, it's another mistake men do, and they will go out and just bang anything they can find to bang. I mean, sluts, whores, whatever. They will go out and bang whatever they can find to bang. A lot of them will, because they know their time is limited. So they're going to use it before they lose it. And that gets you in a lot of trouble also, it definitely can. You have to be careful, you really do. You have to be really, really careful what you do. And the biggest mistake that men make, have to do with women. If you look at pretty much everything that men do, it's usually, you know, about single men in a way. It's usually about being more attractive, or, you know, finding a woman to marry, a mate, a girlfriend, or just finding sex. That's on men's minds constantly, especially, you know, younger men. You try to get a better job to attract women. You try to get a fancier truck to attract women. You try to get your body in better shape, usually to attract women. So pretty much everything men do, especially when you're younger, you know, 20s up to in your 40s or 50s usually, is about attracting women. And if you don't watch, you will attract a monster, like I said. You have to be extremely, extremely careful. I'm here at the park today. It's a different park than I was at, you know, a few days ago. There's really nobody up here right now. There was one guy here jogging a minute ago. I don't know if he's still here or not. I haven't seen him pass through here. But this track around this thing is about a mile around. might be a little over a mile, I think it is, around. It's a huge field and a huge walking track. I used to walk this track quite often, but it's got the pavement, and it makes my shins hurt. So now I try to walk on gravel all the time when I do walk. So I've got a graveyard not too far from my house. Then I walk around. The 2 trips around that is a mile. But this here is, I think it's a little over a mile. I think it's about a mile and a quarter around this right here. And there was one guy up here one day when I was up here walking that he was jogging. I was walking at a pretty fast pace, but he was running at a fast pace. And he passed me 3 times before I got around this thing one time. One reason my shin bones hurt, like I said, walking on that pavement. I just can't do it no more. Gravel, I'm fine with, and in the woods, I'm thinking that pavement just beats my legs to death. Anyway, hope you liked the video, and think before you leap when it comes to relationships. Don't think the person you think you know is who it actually is, because it definitely could be a monster hiding in plain sight. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully.